The National Hockey League is a truly international league, featuring talent from all corners of the globe. However, despite Canada's deep historical and cultural ties to the sport of hockey, some NHL players express reservations about playing for Canadian teams. But why? What could possibly prevent players from joining the legacy of a storied Canadian franchise like the Toronto Maple Leafs or Montreal Canadiens, where hockey isn't just a game, but a way of life? In today's video, we'll uncover some of the untold stories behind what it's like playing for a Canadian NHL team, and why some players chose not to head north of the border. First and foremost, the level of media scrutiny in Canada for hockey players is unparalleled. In hockey-loving cities like Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver, hockey isn't just a sport, it's a religion. This devotion brings with it an enormous amount of pressure, fed by a media landscape that dissects every move a player makes on and off the ice. In comparison, players in American cities, unless they're superstars, often enjoy a relatively lower profile. For some players, the incessant spotlight can be a significant source of stress that affects their performance and well-being. Unlike in the United States, where hockey shares the stage with sports like football, basketball, and baseball, in Canada, hockey dominates the media landscape. During the NHL season, and even in the off-season, news outlets dedicate significant airtime and print space to every nuance of the game. For example, a player's slight injury, which may be treated as a minor footnote in American sports news, could lead sports segments on Canadian networks. This constant coverage increases the pressure on players who know that every move they make is likely to be scrutinized in real time. Canada is also home to numerous specialized hockey talk shows, podcasts, and television analysis programs. A player who fails to perform well in a game might find his errors highlighted and critiqued from multiple angles by seasoned analysts. This level of scrutiny can affect player morale and contribute to performance anxiety. Wayne Gretzky once said it best, "When it's not going so well, it can be a bit tougher because people live and die it." In Canadian cities, hockey players are local celebrities, and their public appearances never go unnoticed. A simple trip to the grocery store can turn into an impromptu Q&A session, or worse, a confrontation with disappointed fans. However, the impact isn't limited to the players on the ice. It also trickles into their personal lives. Families might find themselves in the center of harsh comments, children subjected to taunts at school. It's a reminder that fans' passion can sometimes spiral into a force that affects lives beyond the ring. This complex dynamic isn't one-sided. Just as fans profoundly impact the players, players also impact fans. Players might sometimes be driven away from Canadian teams, seeking comfort and anonymity elsewhere. Sometimes the fans need to look in the mirror. While passion's a hallmark of Canadian hockey culture, it's worth remembering that its weight can shape a team's course, prompting players to make life-changing decisions based on their interactions with this keen fan base. This phenomenon became even more clear last offseason for the Calgary Flames when they lost two of their star forwards to American teams. Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk both left Calgary in the 2022 offseason. While they stated it had nothing to do with the organization, media, or fan base, it felt like a strange coincidence that they both decided to sign with smaller market teams in the US, Columbus and Florida. Smaller markets mean less pressure, less media, and a bit more freedom off the ice. A far cry from what they had experienced in Canada with Calgary, a franchise who hadn't won a Stanley Cup since 1989. However, perhaps the most glaring example of this evidence is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Sorry, Leafs fans. The Maple Leafs are said to be the nucleus of the hockey universe. The city bleeds blue and white and have one of the most rabid fan bases in professional sports. However, with this passion comes pressure. Pressure that's been building for over 50 years for a team who hasn't won a Stanley Cup since 1967. It's well documented that Toronto media can be ruthless. They're critical about the players and they take every opportunity to expose a player's sensitivity. Yes, these players are paid handsomely for playing a game, but the pressure cooker that is the Toronto media is often a deal breaker for players when they think about joining the Leafs. Hell, it's even too much pressure for the players on the team to even perform at their best. You see, before the 2022-23 season, the Leafs hadn't won a playoff series in 20 years. 20 years. And this isn't due to a lack of talent. It's due to players crumbling under the pressure of the media and fans and their relentless thirst to win. Years and years of underperforming in playoffs, cracking under the pressure, and choking put a dark cloud over the city. And it's made NHL players think twice about joining the Leafs. In conclusion, the media scrutiny faced by NHL players in Canada is a unique and formidable challenge. The omnipresent news coverage, specialized analysis, public recognition, social media spotlight, and demanding local media create an environment that some players find overwhelming. These factors collectively contribute to why some NHL players may hesitate to play for Canadian teams, opting instead for US markets where the media landscape's less intense and more forgiving. Next up, the weather. While talent, salary, and team reputation are often cited as significant factors in influencing where a player chooses to sign, one aspect that tends to be overlooked is the role of the weather and climate in that decision-making process. While NHL games take place in temperature-controlled indoor arenas, players must still deal with the climate of the city they reside in. For some, the opportunity to live in a warmer location can be a significant draw. U.S. cities like Los Angeles, Tampa, and Dallas offer mild winters and warm climates year-round, providing a respite from the cold for those who grew up in chillier environments. Not only does this warmer weather offer a more comfortable daily life outside of hockey, but it has potential health benefits, such as reduced risk of seasonal depression and fewer respiratory issues commonly associated with colder climates. Family often plays a crucial role in a player's decision-making. The weather can be a significant factor for spouses and children, affecting their daily lives and comfort. Better weather means more opportunity for outdoor activities, social events, and a generally higher quality of life, all of which contribute to a player's peace of mind and potentially on-ice performance. However, it's important to note that for some players, especially those who grew up in Canada or in colder U.S. states, the traditional hockey weather is part of the sport's allure. Cities like Montreal, Toronto, and Edmonton offer a rich history and deep-rooted fan culture that some players find irreplaceable, regardless of the frigid temperatures. These players might argue that braving the cold is a small price to pay for being part of a storied franchise in a hockey-loving community. Weather and climate are more than just backdrop settings. They're factors that subtly but surely influence players' lifestyles, training options, family happiness, and even marketability. While it might not be the most discussed consideration, weather can tip the scales when NHL players are choosing between American and Canadian teams. And as climate change continues to shift weather patterns across North America, it's a factor that'll only become more significant in players' decision-making processes in the years to come. Now, another often overlooked factor in a player's decision-making process is the impact of taxation. The differing tax structures in the United States and Canada can play a significant role in influencing where an NHL player chooses to play. The US and Canada have different tax landscapes, each with its own set of rates, brackets, and regulations. For high-earning individuals such as professional athletes, the impact of taxation can be substantial. The U.S. has a progressive federal income tax system with rates ranging from 10 to 37% as of 2022. Additionally, state and sometimes even local taxes can further increase an athlete's tax burden. However, some states like Texas and Florida don't impose state income taxes, which can be enticing for NHL players. On the other hand, Canada has a progressive federal tax system that can reach up to 33%, coupled with provincial taxes that can add another 5 to 20%. This can result in a higher overall tax burden for players on Canadian teams, making American teams more financially appealing. NHL players often have relatively short career spans compared to other professions, usually around 5 to 15 years. During this period, they aim to maximize their earnings, which include not only their salaries, but also bonuses, endorsements, and other income streams. When a player considers contract offers, the after-tax income becomes a crucial consideration. Playing for an American team in a state with low or no state income tax can significantly boost a player's net income. For instance, a player signing a contract with the Tampa Bay Lightning based in Florida could take home substantially more of their salary compared to if they signed an equivalent contract with the Montreal Canadiens, where Quebec's highest provincial taxes would eat into their earnings. The role of taxes in influencing NHL players' decisions to play for American or Canadian teams cannot be underestimated. While not the sole consideration, the potential for higher after-tax income is a significant factor. This has implications not only for the players, but also for the competitive balance of the league. As long as the tax disparity exists, it'll continue to subtly shape the decisions made by NHL players, and by extension, the composition and success of NHL teams. As we wrap up our exploration of the world of NHL players and their choices, one thing becomes clear: the journey to success in the world of hockey is far from easy. So could it be that our perceptions of the game are evolving? Are we witnessing a transformation in how players prioritize their careers, weighing the pressures and pleasures that come with representing a nation's passion? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. See you in the next one.